Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about how we sailed all 9 major cruise lines, and today we are breaking down which ones are best for retirees and which ones you should avoid.
Yeah, this first one we're going to talk about is one that is a little bit controversial because a lot of people aren't sure, is that really good for retirees or not? Well, we went on to find out because we just needed to know, and that is Virgin Voyages. A lot of times you hear this is really only for 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. It is an all-adult cruise line, though, and so we wanted to try it. We found so many people in our age range that were just doing the same things we were doing that it turned out to be one of our favorite lines of all time.
Absolutely. I think that was the cool thing, was that we were really surprised that there were so many people in our age range. We really were expecting, we're in our early 50s, we were expecting people in their 30s and early 40s, to be honest. And it was really surprising, and the good kind, because not only were there a lot more people in our age range than we expected, but it was such a refreshing interaction with those that were not. I was so surprised at how relaxed the whole environment was. I think because even the younger people in their 30s and early 40s who still were raising children, had kids, were all so relaxed because they weren't having to wrestle with children while they were on the cruise. It was just for them, and they were having the time of their lives.
That is kind of the big thing, because you do often see when we travel, we see young families and people in their 30s, 40s, and they have their kids with them. And you kind of give them a little bit of leeway, a little bit of grace, because you've been there, you know what they're going through, and it's not a great time all the time. And so when you see them on a cruise like Virgin, though, they're just like, all right, we're just relaxed, because they don't have their kids with them either. So nobody is fighting that fight, the fight of, oh, I gotta get my kid to eat today, I gotta get my kid to bed, I gotta get him down to the kids club. And so everybody is just relaxed, and everybody just has a different attitude. And it really was the one thing we didn't expect, which was just a great cruise for retirees. So I think that is probably our new top line, and was the most surprising thing that we experienced when we sailed all of these different cruise lines.
Yeah, I think that really, at one point, I think like 2 days into our cruise, I was like, why is everybody so like happy? We've been on many cruises before, and it was really a remarkable difference how happy every single person we ran into was. I mean, you would ride the elevator and you had like 5 new best friends by the time you left the elevator. Everyone was just chatting all the time, and it was like super friendly too, and not like, invasive or weird or rude. It was really nice, and it was nice to have interactions with anybody that you ran into.
Second line we're going to talk about is Holland America. Now, I will say this one is great for retirees, but it is great for retirees on the upper end of the spectrum of retirement, because if you have early retirees going on Holland America, you may find that it's not as tailored to you, because this is, of all the cruise lines, the oldest crowd that you will find, and all the activities and events are tailored for that crowd.
Yes, as a matter of fact, this is like the cruise line where, like, people our age's parents are taking us on these types of cruises. That's what you're going to see. It really was a stark difference when we were on Holland between the ages. I mean, you'll see a lot more canes, a lot more walkers, a lot more mobility assistance on there. A lot of things are, the timing of everything is a little bit different too, which really affected, like, we didn't make a lot of breakfast because it shuts down way earlier than on any of the other cruises, we felt like. Same thing with all the other meals, and there weren't a ton, if very many, evening options for entertainment, like later on in the evening. It kind of cuts off a little bit early as well, just because not that many people are going to be going to it, so they just didn't have a lot to offer in that space.
Yeah, I would go walk around the ship at 10 o'clock at night, maybe 11 o'clock at night. I wouldn't see a soul. Like, I was the only person out there. And this was a transatlantic cruise we were on, so there was even probably an older crowd than normal. Because there weren't any families on there at all. No kids, no families. And it is great for its intended purposes. So if you just want that quiet. You don't want to be bothered by anything. You want everything to be quiet, orderly, just done the way you want it. The service is impeccable on Holland America, and that's going to be a great choice if that is what you're looking for. Kind of the in-between line of these two, though, would be Princess. It is more for the retirement age crowd, but we are probably in our 50s, the target audience for Princess. Still got a little bit of fun left in it, but not so wild that it's going to drive you crazy.
I think this is such an important one. They really did have every base covered, I think, on Princess. Probably, I would say, almost the most ideal one for retirees, especially those in our age range of the early 50s. It was perfect because, like you said, all the food choices seemed really good. All the entertainment times and options were really good. And it just, you just had that kind of, you felt like free spirit kind of deal. And they just had so much to offer that we felt like it was incredibly ideal for retirees.
Yeah, in fact, Princess is the cruise line that we choose to take our group cruises on. We did a group cruise on the Discovery Princess last year. We have another couple of group cruises coming up this year that we're taking. We've already got 60 people signed up to go on the Iceland and Norway cruise, and it is on Princess as well. We're also doing a group cruise out of Rome. If you are interested in those cruises and you want to take part, we do have links in the description to our Retirement Travel Jumpstart community. That is where you will find how to sign up. We also have an Antarctica cruise coming, so if you're interested in that expedition cruise, that's going to be amazing as well. So check that out if you're interested. But Princess, we love it so much that that's where we basically do our group cruises, because that is the age. I think it's like the perfect line for people of our age, 50s, and a lot of people are in their 60s that are going, even some people in their 40s going on the cruise with us.
Yeah.
Next up is going to be Celebrity, and Celebrity is pretty similar to Princess, although we have found that depending on the ship, you can get a different experience on Celebrity, depending on which ship and which itinerary you're on. So it is a little bit different in that regard.
Yeah, I think Celebrity does have a lot to offer, but definitely one of the lines that is not consistent across the board. It really does, the ship really affects your overall experience, which is one of the things that we don't love about Celebrity, is that the consistency isn't really there across the board. With some of these other ones that we've mentioned, with Virgin Voyages, you're going to get the same thing. It doesn't matter which ship you're on. Now, granted, most of their ships are pretty new anyways. They don't have that many. Holland, same thing. Older ship, newer ship. You're pretty much going to have the same type of experience. And the same thing with Princess. Pretty much all their ships, you're going to have about the same experience. But when you are with Celebrity, if you're on those older ships, your experience is not going to be as good.
Yeah. Next up is going to be NCL, and we do love NCL. I think it trends a little young for the retirement crowd, but we still have it on the one you could use, because I think people in our age range do love it. I think people even older than us love it as well. But you will start to see, this is one where you start to see a lot more teens, a lot more kids on the ship with you. So just bear that in mind. And we don't mind having that with us because we like NCL and they have a lot of features, but they do have a lot of ships with the go-kart tracks and the laser tags and the water slides. So you will see a lot of families on these ships. So if you're trying to avoid that NCL is not one you probably want to sail on. But if you don't mind, maybe you want to ride the go-kart yourself, then NCL would be a good one to pick.
Yeah, I think with NCL, you're looking at, if you look at the cruises that are a little bit longer, you're going to see the numbers of the kids and the teens go down. So if you like Norwegian NCL like we do, we tend to use them more on the longer cruise, on your 10 days, your 14 days, your transatlantics, your transpacifics. Those are going to be much better because you're going to have a lot less, of the family and, school kids and all those types of things. But it's a really good mix of the shifts in age. It was a little bit more of an environment kind of like the Virgin, without obviously the 18 and under crowd.
All right, so that's the 5 you should use. Now we're going to go on the 4 that you should avoid as retiring. The first one, kind of obvious, although a lot of people will say the opposite. You can tell us in the comments, fight with us there. But first one's going to be Disney. You got to avoid Disney. As a retiree, this is just not something you want to do. You're paying a lot of extra money to be on Disney, and it's just the whole thing is geared toward kids. So unless you're bringing your own grandkids on the ship, I do not see any reason to go on a Disney cruise. We have heard so many people say, "Oh, we loved it," even though we didn't go with our kids, and we thought we'll try it. We don't, not like being around kids. There were so many kids. We decided this was too many. This was the breaking point.
We didn't realize that there was a limit to how many children we would be willing to interact with. And that's just, I think the thing here too is yes, the service is good. However, the service is 90% geared towards small humans, towards the children. And it's not like I need to be, ooh and odd and cooed or whatever, but, I also am paying a lot of money for the cruise as more than the child is. So you would think that the service level would be, pretty good also for just adults, but they just didn't have a lot, and they don't have a lot to offer in the way of just adult only spaces as well. They had one small pool area on the ship in particular that we were on, as well as just like, the spa, but there were kids constantly sneaking into the adults only area pool. You saw them all the time shooing them away. So it was kind of like, it just is not the ideal environment for a relaxing, cruise experience overall.
Yeah, the food also not the best. It's more like the park food, which we don't really like. So the buffet was, pretty lackluster. I just think there's better options for you, unless you're just like a person who just loves Disney. Even then, just go on a Virgin cruise and then go to actual Disney for 3 days. That'll be cheaper because the Disney cruises, they're not as good, and you're paying a huge premium to be on there, like sometimes twice as much as the other cruise lines. So that's a big problem. I think the people that love these, there's people that will just, I know, let me know in the comments if you love these, you think we're wrong, but you must love Disney because there's no other way to explain it.
No, well, the thing is, like, we're not Disney dislikers. I grew up going to Disney. I grew up in Florida. I went to Disney for every special occasion. We've been to Disney all over the world. Not just been to Disneyland and Disney World, but we've been, in other countries as well. And we don't dislike Disney. We love Disney. We like going to the Disney parks, but you're enclosed on a ship, like floating in the middle of the ocean. It's very different than walking around at Disney Park than it is to being on a Disney cruise locked in the middle of the ocean with a lot of moving children.
All right, the next one you want to avoid as retiree is going to be Carnival. Now, we do sail on Carnival, but it is a fun ship. It is a party ship, and you just have to know that going in. It's going to be loud. The crowd is going to be different. There's going to be all kinds of things going on. And if you want to avoid that, if you're looking for peace and quiet, you do not want to be on a Carnival ship. We have sailed a lot of Carnival ships, though. We're on the Venezia, the Glory, the Radiance this last year, and really did enjoy them. But that was with a mindset of we're going and we don't mind, being this. We took our daughter on the Carnival ship, and that's one of the reasons we went. She loved it. We had a good time, too. But if you're just going for that relaxing retirement trip, you do want to avoid Carnival.
Yeah, if you're looking, that's the key word, the relaxation. Carnival is, they tell you in their advertising, it is the fun ship. And if you want to have fun, go on Carnival. You're going to have some fun. It's going to be ruckus. It's going to be wild, but you will have fun. That is what you're looking for. Now, a little trick, though, is the longer the Carnival cruise, the higher the chance that there will be less ruckusness, but there will still be ruckusness. Yes. Even on the longer ones. So this isn't like some of the other ones that we were talking about that you could go on, or like, NCL, where we said, the longer the better. On Carnival, it really doesn't matter. There's still going to be a lot of fun and a lot of shenanigans.
Yeah, same can be said of Royal Caribbean, and this one kind of surprised us. I was really surprised, although I do think it was a little bit tainted by the fact that we went out of Miami. I have been on Royal ships from other ports, and they were a little more tame. This one was basically a spring break cruise, and it was much different than being on like a Holland America spring break cruise. It was basically like Carnival, and even maybe more rowdy than the Carnival cruises.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that. I guess I was expecting it to be more like an NCL cruise, and it just wasn't. It really was more towards like Carnival. Now, don't get me wrong, we enjoyed them. Royal has incredible ships, and even, you know, their newest ones are insane, hold massive amount of people. You can, small towns, it's more than small towns on a cruise ship. So it's just, there's a lot of people on these ships, and it's just, there's a little something for everyone, I think. And if you're looking for like an, you know, a multi-generational cruise line, this would be an ideal one. But it was definitely more ruckus than we were expecting. I was really thinking it was going to be more like NCL, and it was not. It was really more like Carnival.
I think that's the thing. If you're a retiree and you're looking for a cruise line to go with your older grandkids, your high school age grandkids, you do want to pick like a Royal or an NCL. Otherwise, the grandkids aren't going to have any fun. So these would be ones that you could tolerate and that they would have a blast on. So that's good. But if you're going by yourself, I would lean more towards Princess, Virgin, Celebrity, or Holland. So that's just kind of the lay of that. And then the other one I would avoid would be MSC. Now that doesn't apply just to retirees though. I would avoid that no matter what age you're on, because we just did not like MSC. They're pretty consistently rated as the worst cruise line. You'll see people all over the place. There are a few people who love the food. I don't know what happened with that. They're pretty consistently the worst rated cruise line. Let us know if you love MSC in the comments, because we want to know why you like it. We have been on several MSC cruises, and every time we go, we say we're never doing that again. We'll never do it again. And then they come out with some amazing price. That's how they get you. And it's like $400 for a cruise. We're like, okay, we'll give them one more. How bad could it have been? Maybe. And then we get on the cruise, we're like, we're never doing this again.
I think that's the thing, is that the price is so enticing because it is so low. You're like, I can't not go on this cruise. It's $187 for a week. How can I not do this cruise? They're practically paying me to go on this cruise. And then you're on that cruise, and listen, you're going to lose some weight on this cruise. Let me tell you right now, the food, no. You're not going to eat that much, no matter where you eat. Whether you eat in, you could even eat in the specialty dining, which we attempted to do multiple times. You could eat in the main dining hall. You can eat in the buffet. It doesn't not matter where you eat on the ship. And they do have lots of places to eat. However, none of them are good. So you're gonna have a very hard time trying to find something that you love to eat. We ended up actually just buying stuff at the ports and bringing it on as snacks, you know, and just stuff to get us by until we finally got off the ship. But we do forget sometimes when we're not on an MSC ship how bad it is, and we're like, ooh, that price looks really good, let's think about it. And then we go back and look at our old video and we're like, yeah, let's not think about it, we're not going to do it.
About every couple of years we end up on one though, because we do forget. Like, and the price is so good. So, you know, maybe if you want to try it. There are a few people that love the food on MSC. I don't know what they're looking at or thinking, but maybe you're one of those people. Now, if you do love the food on MSC, you'd have an amazing time because the ships are beautiful. They are actually some of the best ships out there, and the price is amazing. So if you can get past the food, then you would have a great time. So maybe you're not that picky. But again, these are going to trend younger crowd because they're trying to get a bunch of people on there, cheap prices, and that's all good. But as far as retirees go, that would be another one that we avoid. So we've got 5 we would definitely recommend, 4 that we avoid. Let us know what you think about those choices in the comments. What is your favorite cruise line as a retiree? Let others know too. They want to read that and see what you recommend.